I'm Denise Eide. Welcome to the Uncovering the Logic of English book study, where we'll explore a few highlights from this book. This book was inspired by my twin sons, Abraham and Josiah. They struggled to learn to read, and in that journey, it transformed my understanding of English. You see, they learned phonics rules when they were learning how to read, and those rules were things like S as in socks. And in their journey, they learned how to read decodable readers with words like sit, sip, sat, and bus. But when we transitioned to real books, they struggled. They couldn't read the word his because they would misread it as hiss. And they would misread is as is, again and again and again. And it didn't just happen with S. You see, they had learned that A says as in apple, and A says A as in grapes. And then they would misread words like all, small, water, and father. I would explain to them, these are exceptions, or these are sight words. And we would drill these words with flashcards. And they would misread have as have because they had learned that the vowel says its long sound because of the E. Now, they had loved books when they were little. We would read books at nap time and at bedtime, and they were so excited to learn to read. However, as this process continued, they began to hate independent reading, and in fact, they would cry. I thought that I was alone as a parent, and I discovered that I was not alone. In fact, I discovered that 2/3 of students in the 4th grade in the United States read below grade level. That was shocking to me to discover that a majority of U.S. students in the 4th grade struggle with reading in some way. But as I searched for an answer for my sons, I discovered something that changed my world. I discovered that there are phonograms and spelling rules that are taught to students with dyslexia that answer all people's questions about how English really works. And I discovered that this information aligns with something called the simple view of reading. The simple view of reading says that our decoding skills times our oral language comprehension skills equal our ability to read and comprehend. Now, my sons had high oral language comprehension skills. I had read to them since birth. I had surrounded them with books, surrounded them with audiobooks. This increased their oral language comprehension. When I first began teaching them to read, they had low decoding skills. They were only able to decode a small percentage of words within books. The rest they were guessing at. As they learned accurate phonograms and spelling rules that really explain how English works, their decoding skills increased. And do you know what happened? In about 3 to 4 months, they were able to read and comprehend chapter books. Why? Well, because they were able to then decode the words, and they could then read and comprehend at the exact same level that they could listen and comprehend. This is exciting news. Also, learning the phonograms and spelling rules changed something else key for them. They loved reading again. They loved books because now they could decode them and they could pick up and read the stories that they were loving to listen to. In addition, learning the phonograms and spelling rules transformed my life. As an adult, I was a struggling speller, and as I helped my sons, I began to understand how English really works, and I learned how to spell. That was the inspiration for this book, Uncovering the Logic of English. I wanted to share this exciting information with everyone. Chapter 3 is about phonograms, the building blocks of words. I no longer teach students just the letters, because letters work together to build phonograms or pictures of sounds. And in English, a phonogram may have 1, 2, 3, or 4 letters. So this is a phonogram or a picture of the sound T. This is a picture of the sound sh. This is a picture of the sound I. And this is a picture of the sound A. Once again, a phonogram in English, or a sound, may be spelled with 1, 2, 3, or 4 letters. When I teach phonograms, I also now teach all of the sounds right from the beginning. So this says 2 sounds. It says s and z. So notice that first sound s explains 7 of the first 100 fry words. And when we teach the sound z, we explain really key high frequency words such as is. In fact, learning that s says z explains 8 of the first 100 fry words. Z is also heard in the plural such as chairs, tables. So understanding all of the sounds or learning all the sounds right from the beginning is a really important key to understanding how English works and unlocking the code. Once again, S says S and Z. A actually says 3 sounds. It says a, aw, as in apples and ants, snakes ate grapes, wash the walls, a, aw. Teach all 3 sounds right from the beginning so students don't run into unnecessary exceptions or have to memorize words by rote. Understanding this information unlocks so many words. Notice the aw sound for a, aw is found in all of these words in just the first 300 fry words, and it's found in thousands of additional words. This is one of my favorite examples as a student. I was taught that ch says ch as in each, which, much, such, and change. However, when I went to spell the word school, I thought, well, that says stool. English is dumb. I blamed the language when I saw exceptions, such as ch saying k as in school, orchid, chemistry, or chasm. I also thought English is crazy. Look, here it's saying sh as in machine, chef, shoot in Chicago. What I didn't realize is that there's actually a logic and a system to the language. And in fact, students who are good spellers and who participate in spelling bees like the script spelling bee, they understand something really key about the language. Notice when you're in a spelling bee, you can ask the moderator for one hint, and that is the origin of the word. Well, how does that help with these words? Well, you see, when they hear that the origin is from Greek, they know if they hear a k sound that it's spelled with a ch, because ch is the Greek spelling of the sound k, as in school, orchid, chemistry, and chasm. And if they hear that a word is from French and they hear the sh sound, they know it's spelled with a ch, because ch is the French spelling of sh, as in machine, chef, shoot in Chicago. There really is a logic to the language, and we don't have to memorize everything by rote. Rather, memorizing that the phonogram ch says ch, k, sh unlocks tens of thousands of words in English. Many people try to solve this by teaching rules such as when 2 vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. And they often use this to teach that a vowel says its long sound, such as in each, fear, near, and see. But what do you notice in red, weather, head, instead, measure, spread, and so forth? Well, in these words, it's saying the short sound. And what is it saying in great, wear, and break? It's saying the a sound. In fact, that rule doesn't work. It's much better, once again, just to teach that this says a. Teach all of the sounds of the phonograms right from the beginning. In this chapter, you will find a chart of all of the phonograms in English and examples words of where the examples of those sounds and what the sounds are of those phonograms. This is a great way to transform your understanding as well as your students' understanding of English. Teach all of the phonogram sounds right from the beginning. And if you're teaching young students, our books Doodling Dragons, Whistling Whales, and Knitting Knights will be really helpful. These are accurate, linguistically accurate ABC books that teach the 75 phonograms and their sounds to young students. We also have coloring books and songs because learning this information is powerful It's accessible to young children, and it can be really fun. In Chapter 5, we discover foundational consonant rules. Spelling rules work hand in hand with phonograms to explain English. Let's take a look. C says most of us have been taught that C says k as in cat. But what does it say in place, sentence, face, since, piece? It's saying s. And where is it saying s? Before an E. What does it say in city, decided, circle, and exercise? It once again says s. And where is it saying s? Before an I. And what about in cylinder, cycle, cypress, and spicy? Again, it's saying s, and this time before a Y. So this phonogram says two sounds. It says k and s. And we can discover that C always softens to s when followed by an E, I, or Y. What does it say before an A, O, or U, as in can, cold, or cut? It says k. What does it say before a consonant, as in close, cried, or object? It says k. What does it say at the end of the word, as in arc, music, and comic? K. So the whole rule says C always softens to s when followed by an E, I, or Y. Otherwise, C says k. This rule is really powerful because it explains words like circus, where C is saying two sounds. Why does the first C say s? Because it's before an I. Why does the second C say k? Because it's before a U. This rule explains many multisyllable words where C softens to s. Many of these words occur in later grades and are one of the reasons that so many students plateau in reading around the 4th grade as they begin to encounter larger and larger content words. But understanding this rule is key to unlocking them and being able to decode them. In fact, this rule explains 6,000 words where C softens to s, and 10,000 words where C says k. This rule alone unlocks 16,000 words in English. And it helps to explain parts of English that many people think that English is crazy. For example, we have the word picnic, and we are adding the suffix ing. Why do we add a K to get picnicking? What would this say? It would say picnicing. Do you see that? Because C always softens to s when followed by an E, I, or Y. So we must add a K so that it says picnicking, so that it says the k sound. How about this word, garlic? We're adding a Y to make garlicky. Why do we add a K? What would this say? It would say garlicy. So C always softens to s when followed by an E, I, or Y. So we need the K so that it will say its k sound as in garlicky. Now, many people who are strong spellers look at this word and go, that looks weird. Yet now they understand why. In fact, most strong spellers in English understand how to spell just because something looks right or doesn't look right. They don't know why it's right or wrong. But now you have the tools to understand why garlicky is correct. It's because C always softens to s before an E, I, or Y. Therefore, we need to add in that K so it says garlicky. In Chapter 7, we discover the mystery of the silent final E, and we solve it. Because you see, this rule, the vowel says its long sound because of the E. This is commonly known. We know Mac becomes make, these, time, home. The vowel in these words is saying its long sound because of the E. And this rule is really important, but it leaves 50% of words in English as exceptions if we don't teach all of the reasons for a silent E. Did you catch that? 50% of silent final E words are exceptions if this is the only rule we taught. So what happens in these words? Why do we have a silent final E in have, give, move, above, and leave? The reason is that English words do not end in V. Did you catch that? If you hear V at the end of the word, you need to add a silent final E. And this happens in words like have and give, and it happens in bigger words like solve, mauve, comprehensive, additive, approve, narrative. It goes on and on and on. Very young children can grasp this rule. English words do not end in V, therefore add an E. Every time you hear V at the end, add an E. And this helps resolve words like this, where students are misreading have as have. I love this image because this gentleman who's quizzing this student doesn't look very happy, nor does the student. And I'm sure they keep going through this over and over, and the student keeps misreading it. But all he needs to say is, why is the E there? English words don't end in V. This says have. Why do we have a silent final E in true, blue, value, and continue? Well, English words do not end in U, so therefore we need to add a silent final E. That's why this doesn't look right. English words do not end in U, therefore add an E. This rule, English words do not end in V or U, is the second most common reason for a silent final E in English. Why do we have a silent final E in voice, sentence, since, dance, difference, distance? Well, we learned this rule earlier. What would this say without an E? It would say voik. That's because the C says because of the E. Now, hopefully I've piqued your curiosity because there are really 9 reasons for a silent final E that are demonstrated in this chapter. And understanding all 9 reasons is a really big key to understanding how English really works and to being able to decode and spell in English. Also, understanding why the E is needed is a really big key to understanding suffixing. Many of us in the United States have learned this rule, drop the E when adding ing. Now, I have a problem with this rule because it only teaches about one suffix, ing. What about ly? What about ed? What about ment? There are so many suffixes in English. This rule does not work. Now, some people have learned the rule, drop the E when adding a vowel suffix. As a teacher who's gone around the country teaching other teachers about English, I found that this is less than 2% of the nation's teachers have even heard this rule. This rule is better, but let's refine it. And let's look at a few words. We have the word like. We're adding the vowel suffix ing. That simply means that the suffix ing begins with the vowel I. And we drop the E to get liking, because we drop the E when adding a vowel suffix. We have the word notice. Notice it ends in a silent final E. We're adding the suffix ing, which begins with a vowel, and we drop the E to make noticing. We have the word notice, which ends with a silent final E. We're adding the suffix able. Why do we keep the E? Do you see it? What would this say? It would say noticable. That's right, because the C is before an A. Because C always softens to S when followed by an E, I, or Y. So we need to keep the E so the C says S, because C always softens to S when followed by an E, I, or Y. When we add a suffix, we need to know why was the E needed in the first place. Let's try this again. We have the word service. It ends in a silent E. We're adding the vowel suffix able. Notice we keep the E. Why? Because without it, it would say cervicable, because the C always softens to S when followed by an E, I, or Y. So these rules help us to understand not only how and why words are read and spelled the way they are, but these rules are key to understanding how to add a suffix to any word in English. That's right, in chapter 10, there's actually a flowchart that will help you know how to add a suffix to English words. This flowchart is invaluable to all writers in English because it will help you decide what to do when you're adding a suffix and to take away exceptions to these suffixing rules, because these rules really work. In chapter 11, we talk about the power of the Latin spelling of sh. Now, this blew my mind when I first saw it because I had learned the suffix shun, which was helpful to spell words like equation and direction and fraction. But then I would see words like division and confusion and suspicion, and I would think, what is going on? In fact, I just resorted to trying to memorize English spelling by going Suspicion. I didn't understand at all what was happening. In English, though, there are really 3 Latin spellings of sh, and it's much more valuable to teach these than to teach the suffix shun. Now, this actually says sh, and for many of you, it probably looks really strange. But this is a phonogram, a 2-letter phonogram that says sh. And this is a 2-letter phonogram that says sh. And this is a 2-letter phonogram that says sh and zh. Did you catch that? It says sh and zh. That's right, it says 2 sounds. We can often look to the root of the word to figure out which Latin spelling of sh is used. So notice, face becomes facial because we are adding the vowel suffix ial, and it drops the silent final e and reforms the new phonogram sh to make facial. Isn't that cool? Space becomes spacious. Once again, we drop the silent final e and that I is added to form sh, to form spacious. Express becomes expression, and we use si because express ends in an s. Confess becomes confession, once again spelled with the si because confess ends with an s. Locate becomes location. Do you see it? That's right, it's tion because locate has a t and it becomes location. Inspect becomes inspection. Understanding how English works is really powerful. Now, we can't always look to the root and find an English root. But if we knew Latin, the Latin roots always work like this. And that's why there's a ti, ci, and si, 3 Latin spellings of sh. I want to thank you for joining me for this overview of Uncovering the Logic of English. And I'd like to ask, if you've read the book, what are your favorite rules? How have they transformed your understanding of the language? How have these rules and this information transformed how you teach English? And how can we together spread this information so that we can empower all students to become strong readers, writers, and spellers? Thank you so much for joining me.